Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Creating Healthy Wealth in Motherhood podcast with me, your host, Petty Morgan of leveragedmama.com. So welcome back, mamas. It's good to have you here. In this episode, we are going to go a bit deeper into financial self-care, specifically as a mother, because as we all probably know, self-care can go to the wayside when you become a mum as you begin focusing more on others. And unless you're really careful, your self-care can kind of go out the window, or at least it doesn't have the same attention as it used to. And I think that the same goes for financial self-care, except we have a few more and different needs as we become mothers. So that's what I want to talk about today. I wanted to get a gauge, though, before I started recording this podcast on what financial self-care meant to mamas in my Facebook group, Creating Healthy Wealth in Motherhood. So I put the question out this morning, what pops into your head when I talk about financial self-care? And they were all pretty sensible answers. So things like having a livable budget, not too much deprivation, I guess, but also enough to get the bills paid. Having the debts paid, or at least being paid off. There was a few comments on saving for the future. Mindful spending, prioritising your finances over your wants is quite important too, yeah. Taking responsibility, active responsibility, especially if you're in a relationship, for your finances, not just passive. And on that, if you're in a relationship, having transparency between both of you across the finances, and equal kind of decision making in the mix. So they all seem pretty sensible to me. Now, I'm glad to see that we all seem to have matured on the what is self-care question. Because it used to be, I think it used to be quite funny on Instagram and Twitter. People would post about self-care, and that would really equal things like getting your nails done or a massage, which is nice. But I think now we're more understanding in terms of the body and mind self-care that it's not just getting your nails done and getting a massage. It's having time just for you. It's about exercising and taking care of your body. The ability to focus on what's important to you, learning, eating nutritious food that is good for your body, having quiet time, maybe meditation, keeping an eye on your body, monitoring body changes and getting help when you need it, those sorts of things. So that's like, okay, we understand what self-care for the body and the mind is, but what about your finances? And why is that important to include in self-care anyway? So I think it goes without saying that financial self-care is not having money for nails and massages. We're well past that. But it goes a little deeper. Yes, there is, being across things and on top of things and paying off debt and saving for the future. But what I want to do is go just one level deeper into the financial self-care areas. So we're going to explore that. One thing I want to be really clear about is I don't want you to feel bad when you're listening to these suggestions, advice, topics, because we all do what is best for us with the knowledge and the experience and the understanding that we have at the time. So if I'm mentioning things here that you think, oh, I know, I've got to do that. Oh, God, I haven't even thought of that. And I don't want you to start feeling that weight. I don't want you to start feeling guilty or bad or negative about your situation, because all I'm trying to do here is plant some seeds, is get that discussion going about, where are we at with our self-care now that we're mums. I'd like to raise the topics, raise the suggestions, and just put it out there. The things that I'm going to talk about today, I'm not doing all of them, and I have my reasons for that, and I'll explain that. Actually, I'll give you some examples, because it isn't cut and dried, it isn't black and white, it never is. But I want to put it out there because I feel like it's important to remember that as mums, things are a little different for us on the financial landscape. You know, we go on maternity leave, we work part-time, we give more to others once we're mums. So our landscape has changed, so our understanding of things we need a little bit more awareness so that we can continue to make the decisions that are right for us in our lives. So I think I have 4 or 5 points to talk about here. So this actually might be a little bit of a longer podcast, but hey, I'm sure you're cool with that. You're getting used to me and my accent now, aren't you? And my you-knows and my, what else do I do? And things. It's all good, right? All right, so the very first thing I want to talk about is the being on top of things thing. And this did come up in the Facebook post, you know, having an awareness of what's going on. And this isn't necessarily having your shiz sorted, you know, being totally financially sorted. It's just about being on top of stuff, or at least having a healthy awareness, and we'll go into that soon, of what's coming in, what your incomes are and income is versus what's going out. Not turning a blind eye to anything. Being aware of debt levels and the payoff forecast. Being aware of the different accounts that you have and the interest rates. At a high level, at least also being aware of any leaks, any money leaks. I do go into this. I'll link to a blog post I talk about money leaks in, which is one of my all-time most popular blog posts, so I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Having a high-level view of what your money leaks are. Doesn't mean you're on top of everything, you just kind of know. You have this healthy awareness and it doesn't consume you. You're not feeling stressed about it all the time, and you're not taking heaps of time to track every single cent, or spending hours and hours poring over your budget and, you know, feeling that weight of the world on your shoulders. You've got an aerial view of your financial landscape, what's coming in, what's going out, and what's, you know, growing, shrinking, etc. over time. A healthy awareness. So when I first started the Leveraged Mama blog, I discovered Dave Ramsey and his snowball debt payoff method, which I'm still following, by the way. And I went super hard on figuring out exactly where everything was, exactly how much I owed, exactly what the interest rates were, exactly what, you know, where every cent was. I knew everything. I even tracked, once we started investing, each fund that we were investing in. But you may have seen a post about, I don't know, it was probably about a year ago on Facebook. I just said, you know what, I can't keep talking about debt on my blog. I can't keep focusing on it in my personal life, because, you know, what you focus on you get more of, and I don't want more debt. So I literally stopped not only talking about debt at that point, but I stopped the tracking, the hard out tracking. I still managed my budget. I still managed my budget well, but I wasn't so consciously aware of, you know, when are we going to pay this off? When are we going to be debt free? I actually even deleted 3 years off my budget, my Google Sheets workbook. I deleted 3 years off because I thought, let's just get through the next 12 months. And let's not worry about what's after that. Things might change, and they have. So what came from a really kind of obsessive almost awareness of my finances became a more healthy awareness without turning a blind eye. I still knew what was going on. I knew I had things covered. I knew I had payments covered. I was on top of stuff, and I still am. But I wasn't obsessing about it. That weight really lifted after that. I already knew what my money leaks were. I didn't need to know what they were week to week. Already knew what I was kind of leaking money on. That's fine. We don't need to keep a running commentary on that. So my thinking became a whole lot healthier about that. So when you think about your finances and your level of awareness, how much do you understand? How much do you know? How much do you need to know? And there is a balance here. And really, does it give you the information that you need to make better decisions? How does it affect your stress levels? How does your knowledge affect your future finances? Do you know that, hey, I need to earn more, work longer? What is this knowledge? What is it giving you? Is it giving you good information that you can work with and make better decisions with? Or is it just stressing you out? Do you know enough? Do you know too much? These are questions that, from the aerial view, do you know enough to gain that peace of mind? Now, that peace of mind is really important because self-care, body, mind, financial, really the financial stuff is going towards the mental health of being a little bit less stressed and less freaked out by the state of things. So are you getting peace of mind by what you know of your finances? If you're not, maybe you need to look further into it, step further away from it, reassess how you're managing it. It's a little bit like, I guess it's anytime you start focusing on something. Let's say you're trying to lose weight and you begin tracking all of your food and all of your exercise. It's good until it's not. It's good until you know, okay, cool, this is kind of what I can eat and not put on weight. It's not good when you're obsessing over it. It's when it's really, your focus is gone, less like a gentle glow and more like a blasting laser. That's an unhealthy awareness. So stepping back to a healthy awareness to give you peace of mind, hey, that's where I think we should be. So I am just going to skip to a sponsored segment. I'm still figuring out how this works. It could be an anchor segment. It could be something else, a new sponsor. But hey, have a little listen and we'll be right back. Okay, number 2, the future. The future has a plan. Not only does your future have a plan, it has a healthy plan. So things like paying off your debt, when that's going to happen, saving towards your retirement, maybe paying off a home or home ownership. So you've thought about it, and what you're doing right now is moving you towards it, towards that future plan, or at least not away from it. So, for example, my business, on the surface, okay, yeah, we've sacrificed, I'm doing air quotes, we've sacrificed my income. I had a 6-figure corporate IT role. We're sacrificing that in order for me to build my business. So I still do contract work, only about 10 hours a week at the moment, so that I can still bring in a little bit of cash, still use the skills and experience that I have built up in my career, but also build this business. On the surface of it, it might just look like loss of income. A career thrown away. So dramatic. But the intent is actually to grow this business with leveraged and passive income streams, and I believe that I'll make that income back even more and more. So the focus here is on flexible income generation. So when you balance it out, loss of income versus what things could possibly look like for me in the future, then yeah, that is still a healthy plan, regardless of if I'm not earning what I used to earn for a few years. But there is a balance here. You need to look at, okay, what is my future plan? What am I doing towards it? And not only is it a lifestyle that you're going to look forward to as you get older? Remember, you're going to be older. You're going to have changing needs. So is the lifestyle that you're working towards, are you looking forward to it? Is what you're aiming towards not just good for future you, but what about now you? If you're working so hard now to build a future that you are looking forward to, how is that going to affect you when you get there? It's not just work so hard that you can create this amazing future, but destroy yourself in the process, or live so much now that you've got nothing later. There's a balance there, right? And you will reach the balance that is good for you. But the question here is, will you be in a really happy place, or one piece at least, when you get to this future? Not just, hey, it's good when I get there, but also I'm good when I get there. So having a healthy future plan is, I think, something we really need to reassess it every now and again. It's kind of like, the yin and yang. The yin and yang picture. You've got the black comma and the white comma kind of wrapping around each other, and they're forming like this perfect shape. And this is how I see future you and now you working together. You're thinking about each other all the time, and making sure that you're not taking too much from each other, but always working together and to try and maintain that balance. So sometimes we do need to reassess this balance, and sometimes we need to kind of lay off a bit, give today's self, a little bit of a break. Future self's looked after for now, cool. Or maybe now self needs to calm down and think of our future self a little bit more. Just that constant balance seeking arrangement. So what you're doing today, do you feel that is creating the future that you're looking for? Or are you really running yourself into the ground trying to create that? What can you rebalance? Okay, next up is retirement savings equality. Ooh, this is a good one. Now, I have blogged about this, talked about this, presented about this to people in person. It's very important to me. It's something I ponder over quite a lot. But note, I have my own example here that this is precisely why I don't want you to be like, oh my God, I'm not doing that, or should I be doing that? It's food for thought. And you might have another way, and that's okay. This is not the Bible. This is not, you must do things this way, or you will, So, right, retirement savings equality. When you take maternity leave or work part-time while your kids are young, as we mentioned before, you naturally put less away for retirement. And it's not just that percentage that you would have put away each pay of your income towards your retirement savings, but it is the lost employer's contributions and the interest that you would have been gaining over that time, and the compound interest that you will have been building up each year that you've been saving that money. Here's the thing. Women often live longer than men. It is a fact. It's an actual fact. However, we'll naturally have less retirement savings overall because we have those, if we become mums and we take time off, we have those working breaks. So there is less retirement savings. And I know, okay, so this might be a trigger, so just be warned. Let's say, all right, your husband does die before you, your partner does die before you. I know there's recourses. Perhaps there's money left to you, so it all evens out, right? But maybe not. Maybe he leaves it all to your kids. Who knows? Or maybe if you split, or you have already split from your partner. All right, let's say you cut a deal that you get some of their retirement savings as part of your marriage annulment agreement. I'm not quite sure what it's called, but maybe not. These are all things we might think to ourselves, that would never happen. I don't want to think about that. I don't want you to worry about it. I just don't turn a blind eye to it. The option that you have is, in terms of a self-care approach, how can you actually balance it out now instead of waiting for something like that to happen? How can you balance it out now? Here's one idea, maybe your partner transfers into your savings retirement every 3 to 6 months, so that what he or she is putting away for retirement also comes over to your account, so that you're both growing your retirement savings at the same time while you're off work or working part-time. So I don't think there's a benchmark of fairness here, and I'm definitely not saying that you're getting a raw deal if you are working part-time or you're off on maternity leave and not earning and not growing your retirement fund. It's just, what works for you both. If you are in a relationship and your partner is still working and getting employer contributions, etc., it could be a conversation that you want to have with each other. What about my retirement savings? Should we think about that? This is somewhere where I have not been. This is following my advice. So we have been putting in the minimum to my KiwiSaver while I haven't been working regularly, with the idea that once my business is pumping, I will be ramping up those savings. So I have a plan. It's there, but I'm not necessarily following my advice here. But I do want to have a sizable retirement fund. I don't want it just to whizzle away. I want to focus on that. Okay, so what about yours? What is your setup? When you were on maternity leave, or if you are on maternity leave or working part-time, how is your retirement fund going? Is it something that you could make some voluntary payments towards? Does it need a little bit more attention? Does it exist? Of course it does. All right, number 4, money for healthcare. And this is a number of different types of healthcare, not just going to the doctor when you're unwell, but having adequate health insurance that may enable you to see a specialist, or instead of going on the public health system and having to wait for a long time. Having adequate health insurance so that you're not concerned about who pays or how to pay if you need extra treatment or specialist treatment. Having money for counselling and support services, which I think, personally, in my humble opinion, we do not pay enough attention to. In New Zealand specifically, I don't know if it's the same in the States and Australia, but having money for counselling, marriage counselling, for example, or some other kind of, grief counselling or support counselling, any kind of counselling, it seems like a decadence. Who can afford that when you're barely staying on top of your bills and your mortgage, right? Your mortgage is eating up so much of your funds that how can you afford counselling? But that counselling is for your mental health, your mental health and self-care. If you're putting it off, what damage is that doing to you, to your relationships, to your emotional state? If you need it, you should be able to access it. Unfortunately, mental health often gets the very last look in, and it is really the foundation for everything. You need your mental health in order to function and have a happy life. It may even just look like things like having money for a night in a hotel by yourself when you have just had like a shocker of a week, or even maybe you do it regularly. Maybe you do it once a month. This is what I want to do. It's not because you don't love your partner if you're in a relationship. Sometimes you need time to yourself. Go and get room service. So good. Have a spa bath. Wonderful. Just have some quiet time. Having money to be able to do that and pay attention to your mental health. Or even a girls' weekend, so you can feel a little bit more human, not just like you're always serving other people. Having some fun. That is money for mental health care. And finally, we're on the home stretch here. Number 5 is having a buffer for you. Now, on the top level, this looks like money for skincare. Proper skincare, right? Not the supermarket stuff. Proper hair care. Supplements that you may need. A gym pass. That's all the surface level stuff. There's a bit of a buffer there so that you can get the things that you need, and it will make a difference to your life in terms of caring for yourself. On a deeper level, an FU fund. An FU fund is commonly known in FIRE circles, financially independent retire early circles, as a fund that you can use when you need to get the heck out of something. When you need to move on fast from a situation. That could be a job that you are not having a great time in. It could be a relationship. It could be just some kind of life situation. You need to move house, or you need to... an FU fund is when you can just go, nah, I'm done. And you've got enough money to cover your expenses. You're not going to be living home. You're not going to be homeless. You've got that buffer so that you can do the right thing for yourself. So that can also help to protect your mental health and perhaps physical health by enabling you to do what you need to do for yourself instead of continuing in a situation that isn't good for you. So you can step in and change things before it goes to shiz, basically. So having that buffer to do what you need to do to ensure your self-care continues and you do the right thing for yourself, I think is essential. It comes in different forms, though. It could be an ideal FU fund would be liquid money in the bank, or in an accessible, in Sharesies actually. It's very accessible. A fund that you can access quickly without having to sell something, or you can just get to it when you need. This is like the ideal scenario for that type of fund. You may have it in another form. You may have it in the form of a credit card that hasn't been used, or some other way for you to access funds when you need it, if you need to move on from a situation really quickly or ease a situation. And that FU fund, when we're talking about relationships and having to leave relationships, perhaps you don't need to leave the relationship, but maybe you just need some time away from each other. Maybe you need to send your partner away for a month on their own holiday for everyone's mental health. Maybe you need to take the kids or go by yourself. It's coming back to that, doing what you need to do for your self-care in whatever form that takes when you need to do it before things get any worse. So having an FU fund. Who has an FU fund? I would love to know. So that brings us, I'm going to just kind of recap over what we've been over. We talked about number 1, being on top of things. Number 2, having a healthy future plan, one that balances out with you now. Retirement savings equality, money for healthcare of different kinds, and a buffer for you, that FU fund. Did any of these kind of trigger you and you think, oh, that's just decadence, or did you have any feelings about any of them? The only thing I want to say finally is that if you don't feel deserving of any of these things, if you don't feel like you deserve retirement savings equality, say, or you don't feel like you deserve the knowledge of what's going on in your finances, or you deserve money for good skincare, then I think there is some mindset work for you to do. Because you do deserve it. You're a human being and you deserve love and support and attention and everything that goes with it. And financial self-care is one of those things that you deserve. What it looks like for you exactly, is entirely up to you. Everybody's financial self-care looks different at different times of their lives. So just some food for thought for you. I'd love to know if you had any ideas after listening to this episode. Jump into the Facebook group, Creating Healthy Wealth in Motherhood, and we'll talk about this episode and anything that comes up. As usual, if you've listened this far, thank you so much. I would love it if you left a 5-star review and subscribe to the podcast, because this is going to help get it seen and heard by other mums out there who might need to see and hear it. There will be some show notes for this episode where I link to the different posts that I've talked about. There'll be a link to download the guide to motherhood-friendly leveraged income. And you can also sign up for mailing list updates for when new podcast episodes are out. And we will see you in the Facebook group to chat about this. Thank you so much for joining me, and I can't wait to join you again next week. See you later.